Mr. Selfridge, just a few questions, Mr. Selfridge.
Harry Selfridge was, was a true maverick.
Harry's story is extraordinary.
The storylines are interesting. There's so many characters and so many different stories that you can dip in and out of.
It reflects the society which was happening at the time.
It isn't about a shop, it's about a man. It's about Harry Selfridge, the man who built this iconic shop on Oxford Street. We are telling the story of Harry Selfridge and the people that interact with him.
Obviously this show is such a success because we just have a fabulous team of writers.
I spend a lot of time, particularly in the writer's room, so I'm very involved in the beginning of the show, very involved in storylining, working with the writers. I was a script editor myself, so I feel that script is really important because without a good script, you have no good show really. So the writer's room, I mean, it's not quite what the Americans have. We all get together under the sort of guidance of our lead writer. This year has been Kate Brooke. At the beginning of series 3, we sat down and she talked about the big themes that she wanted to cover. Very soon on, say the second or third meeting, we get other writers in, and then when it gets to the individual episodes, we will talk a little bit about those in a group, and then we will break off into smaller groups with the writers who are writing that episode, and then we begin to break that down in more detail. I think I love the characters more than anything. I think that Series 3, we really know our characters really well. There is such a sort of delicious mix of characters now, from the kind of very warm comic characters like Mr. Crabbe to our baddie Lord Loxley, and of course Mr. Selfridge, Harry, who is just such an amazing character really, is sort of tragic character in many ways.
When we look at what he accomplished today, when there was nothing going on, anything even remotely like that, and he just kind of jumped in and knew exactly what he was doing, and everyone kind of fell into place. He lived in a lot of dualities because he led the charge and was very confident, but at the same time, very deep feeling. And so he has a lot of layers and demons, and we explore all that.
It's an extraordinary story, and it's a true story. I mean, Selfridges is still there in Oxford Street.
We were very much inspired by Lindy Woodhead's book, Shopping, Seduction, and Mr. Selfridge. I think like any hopefully successful dramas that are based in non-fiction, we take the truth and then we work with it and we try and stick to the bare bones of the Selfridges' lives, what happened in the store. But then we have the opportunity to create lots of other characters around that.
Princess Marie is directly related to a founding father of Russia.
I was hunted out by the Bolsheviks. You should write a book about me.
Now that is a splendid idea.
A very big book.
I play a new character who's been brought in because my son marries Rosalie Selfridge. Princess Marie is based on a real character, has escaped from Russia, running from the Bolsheviks.
So my character is a pioneering Russian aviator who's determined to kind of get his aircraft and fleet of aircraft off the ground. He's a little bit of a playboy, and he marries Harry Selfridge's eldest daughter, Rosalie. And I think we're going to learn if this is a marriage of true love or does he have other motives. He's a good time boy. He likes champagne, he likes beautiful women, he likes the new machinery and stuff. Like, he's in love with the kind of the technology of the day, and I think he's a little bit of a Peter Pan boy because he's very indulged by his mother. So I don't think he's ever properly grown up and learned how to be a man.
We open on Harry in his roughest time because the love of his life is gone. So we open on a funeral.
Goodbye, my darling. How am I going to live without her?
You'll find a way.
And then go from death to the celebration of life with a wedding. We're hitting the ground running in season 3, and it's pretty action-packed. And yet we're true to the show itself, but it definitely has a different pace to it.
I think it's unfair to call Roger Grove a villain. It's really, really unfair. He's a very good man who's made some I think it's fair to say, in modern terms, some fairly shocking decisions. What I love about the show, what I've always loved about the scripts, is that they are a mixture of a true historical story and a set of fictional characters based on positions within the store and within Harry's social circle and life that are, whilst based in truth, they are of course fictional, which allows you a lot of scope in the way you approach gender and politics and fashion and retail. But it also means it's grounded in a story that has to be told. You can't mess with the truth too much.
This season has a lot in store for everyone. Rosalie has this virtuous, irreproachable humility, and I guess actually a lot of her characteristics follow through from her mother, Rose. So she's great to play, but at certain points she is capable of stepping up to the mark, and we kind of see that throughout the series, that there's moments where the backbone has to come in and she has to sort things out. It's really interesting because obviously getting a part where you're playing a character whose life was real, I think from getting to speak to the writers deeply, we can see that they kind of entwine little bits of fiction, but it is primarily the true story that runs through, and the fact that she married this Russian prince and the demise, and I guess it's all going to come crashing around their feet pretty soon.
Thank you. All right, sweaty chaps. Anger, energy, rehearsal, and background action. Action.
Once we have a script, probably first or second draft, we bring the directors in and they then have an input often about the store event. So one example of how a director might work in the writer's room, there's an example in episode 9 where the writers had an idea that they wanted Harry to really be quite taken aback and quite shocked by the reaction of the crowd to a business plan that he has to hold a big sale and to undercut his competitors. And we were rather struggling with saying perhaps somebody's kind of petitioning or kind of handing out leaflets, and everything we came up with was a bit lame, and our director of block 4 said I know, just what about people throwing eggs? And we were all a bit shocked because we thought this would be quite, we thought this might be a bit much, sort of having our hero sort of covered in eggs, but in a way directors have a really good sense of how something will look, and actually it works brilliantly.
I'm Martin, I'm the standby props. Basically we got some eggs which we're going to throw at Jeremy. We had to blow the egg yolks out, making a hole in the top of each egg. And they're just filling the water, so when they hit him they don't cover his costume in egg yolk.
I think the biggest difficulty is really having to recreate it over several takes and not destroy costumes and makeup and all of that, but keep it convincing. And protests on screen are often very difficult to achieve, so we're trying to find a way of making it feel exciting and giving some jeopardy for Harry that the store is in trouble.
The truth is stranger than fiction. His life played out like a Greek tragedy, and that's what we're getting into. And yet, the writers are incredible and innovative, and we've taken dramatic license in certain parts to create these fictional characters. There are two characters, Agnes Taller and Henri Leclerc, that when you first meet them in season 1, there's such chemistry. And it wasn't premeditated by the writers. It just happened, and it's a tribute to them. They saw dailies and went, oh yeah, there's something going on here. I mean, all the women were in love with Henri Leclerc, Gregory Fitoussi, because he's tall and very good looking, whatever. I think that's overrated. And I think they immediately saw him and went, oh my God. But there was true chemistry between the two of them. So it's that beautiful blend of reality and whatever the imagination could think of.
I can't believe you're here.
Well, I am. I told you I'd come back.
And I told you that I'd wait for you.
Series 3 is about really how soldiers returned from the war and how people in London welcomed them back and how they began to settle down together. And so that bit of history is very important that we keep that extremely accurate.
Well, the world is changing and continues to change. We're we're just coming back from the war, and the men are lost, and it's new territory for them because they didn't know what they were going to get into, and so they came back home, and there were no jobs for them. And one of the things that Harry and Nancy Webb want to do is build these homes for them, a place to go. And that journey is going to be an intense one this season because you're going to get some old friends and foes that'll be back. Lord Loxley will be back with a vengeance and will be standing in Harry's way of achieving his dream and an homage to his wife, really. That's what the Homes for Heroes is.
My character Nancy is very much a new woman. This series is set in 1918, so it's just coming to the tail end of the First World War, and she is educated, which a lot of women, she has a degree, women from this era, that's a very new thing, and she wants to build homes for heroes of the guys coming back from the war. She wants Harry to help her fund it. It's really interesting to do research for this part. Well, I talked to the guys, the writers, and they've sent several books, all written by the same woman, and it's just fascinating. I had no idea.
And it was a real time of change for women. You couldn't be married if you worked in Selfridges. You know, you had to be a single girl, and as soon as you got engaged or married, you had to leave and become the wife and the care at home. All the women in Mr. Selfridge are very strong. They're written very, very strongly. There's an element, you know, Lady May is, you know, she's a suffragette, and you have Kitty, who's this kind of firecracker, and Aisling, who plays Agnes. They're all very, very well written, very strong characters.
We sort of try and push the boat out as much as possible, and then we try and sort of anchor it back with fact. And we often, if we get stuck in the writer's room with a story or with a character, you know, we'll go back to the book or we'll go back to some other kind of historical material, and we'll just sort of take from it and see what we can, you know, see if something inspires us.
The sets are amazing.
It's just phenomenal. One of the best sets I've ever been on.
Every time you go to the shop floor, you always just take a step back because it's extraordinary.
It's a bit like Aladdin's cave when you go inside. I mean, they are amazing, the sets, I think.
We're responsible for sort of everything behind the actors' heads, really.
It's just a beautifully done show.
It was a groundbreaking store. You know, Harry Selfridge was a groundbreaking man, you know, fantastic ideas. So keeping it sophisticated and stylish, just moving a bit away from the heavier Victoriana, really.
Starts with the designs. You get the scripts. My job is to break down the scripts, see what we need, and then go out and try and find them. At the very beginning, when we first started and we were in our prep, sort of 6-8 week prep before we started filming, they wanted to introduce different areas to the store. So male gentleman grooming was one of them. We've got lots of beautiful stationery and pens, and a great gentleman's grooming counter, from shaving brushes and razors and colognes and all that kind of thing.
We wanted to incorporate a few more items for sale, really. You know, we actually wanted to, it's just like a shop, we actually wanted to enlarge our stock.
This is the ground floor of Selfridges, at the store. They've just finished filming here and moved on to another set. But the cabinets, like the set, were all made for the first year of the series. For what it's quite unusual, they've probably invested about 5 years into this, because the sets were made to a very high specification, and all the cabinets have been handmade, knowing there's going to be 2 or 3, 4 series. It's a good investment because you get very good props and sets, and you know you're going to use them again for a few years, and it's worked very well. These mannequins have all been sourced because obviously they're period mannequins, so there's very limited people who you can get them from. These wooden arms and things, you wouldn't have these days, I don't think so. This piece of hedge is from our Palm Court terrace, actually, where we moved it in here to make good use of it. And they had the idea of hanging these tennis balls just as a visual sort of display. These cabinets take a lot of filling because they're glass, and they're double-sided glass, so you see everything on display.
Both Kate, myself, and well, the whole art department, when we first came down to that, you know, fantastic set, because the set's stood for a couple of years now. We walked down there, it was empty, and we thought, you know, we could only last about 20 minutes down there because we just had panic attacks, had to run back upstairs because of how are we going to fill this space?
On this job, it's a bit tricky because finding props that are 100 years old are quite hard to come by. So it's digging around, ringing people, asking favours, and a bit of a treasure hunt most of the time, yeah.
I think our set deck and our buyer have done a lot of product placement as much as they can, because there's companies who've been around that long time. They still have the same packaging and stuff, so we've got all that in on product placement. Everything else, we've sourced bottles and we've made up the perfume by using food colouring, and we normally use vodka as well, because it goes off after a while. This has all got to be here for sort of 8 months.
Everything is very, very carefully thought out. We built the main body, the sets at the beginning of this process on series 1, and they're constantly evolving.
It goes with the character of Selfridges itself. It has to keep moving with the times, it has to keep developing.
I mean, one of the things that's quite amusing, I always think, is to see how Kitty's empire grows hugely, because every year somehow cosmetics becomes bigger and bigger.
When series 2 begins, we see that Kitty has been promoted to beauty, which is a new department which she now runs and is head of. Beauty has become this huge industry, and she's very much at the forefront of that.
It never fails to amaze me how much detail and attention the art department put into those offices.
My favourite set is the offices. I love being in the offices. I think it's because it's where Grove spends an awful lot of his time.
Well, I spend most of my time in the offices, which are spectacular. If I have something about a newspaper or a letter or something like that, they've made this exquisite thing.
A lot of Selfridge's original paperwork has been copied and put on them. Whole wadges of paper, and every single bit would be an authentic print.
My character has a studio where he does all of his plane designs and drawings, and the drawers are stuffed full of designs of his actual plane, because Sergei was a real person as well.
It just helps you so much to live in that world and be in it.
And I don't spend as much time on the shop floor as I would like to these days. I think every time we walk onto the shop floor, there's something new, there's something dazzling. There's a set on there right now of a box hedge with a lady in tennis clothes, and hanging in front of it are all white tennis balls. And you look at it and you go, white tennis balls? You don't see white tennis balls anymore, they're all yellow or green. So it's kind of great to see all that sort of stuff come to life again.
And I think we're spoilt on this show with how beautiful the sets are and how expansive and big they are. I love the house. It's so beautifully done, the minor details. Each series, they sort of update it with the sort of the fashion of the time. I mean, I think we have different wallpapers this series. Yeah, it's the intricacies. Like, I think they're importing a lot of goods over into the house to make it look a bit more valuable, I think, really, because they're just affluent people. This is where we break the fourth wall. Literally, there's a loading bay just through there. We don't often use this part of the set, actually. I've never done anything in here. It's just a nice little area that they, I don't know, for a bit of flourish and different scenes. I mean, last series, my mother was in here for a few scenes, I think. Literally, if you look, everywhere you look, there is something else going on, which is beautiful. The paintings are real. This series, we've done a shot from up there, which looks down on us all. There's quite a few of us in the scene, and it just revolves, so that'll be quite nice to look at.
Series 3, I've come back from the First World War. I've opened up a nightclub. It's a fantastic place to work in because you have the band, the Dixieland band in, and so whenever you step on set, it's like a soundtrack. There's music playing, and really like infectious music that really wants to get you dancing, you know? With all the supporting artists as well as like the main cast going in there. It's a fantastic place. It's rocking, it's pumping. Well,
they're good.
I didn't know much about Dixieland or Lindy Hop, but thank God, you know what I mean? You can be all elbows and knees, so, you know, I've managed to hold my own and I'll keep my head above water. A few of the steps from the Dixieland, the Lindy Hop and the Black Bottom, I've tried in some of the clubs in London. Whether it's a success or a failure, I don't know, that's not for me to say, but I have, yes, I've tried a few of the moves out.
The other place I always love visiting when I go on set is the exterior, which is shot at Chatham Docks. It's often been called the Selfridges Bungalow because we have just a first floor of the corner of Oxford Street and Duke Street, and it gets completely taken down and completely put up in every year, and it is like a miracle. And in fact, it was a bit of a close call this year, I seem to remember, because we had a terrible downpour just before we started filming on it.
The rain pours down outside, and when you're trying to dress the shop windows, the rain often pours down inside the shop windows as well. So that, you know,
And on the day there's 80 extras, there's horses, there's vehicles, there's road cover, there's CGI, there's riggers. It's quite a big number.
Fortunately, one of the good things about going forward in series is we're going through different periods, and it's amazing to watch the costumes change as the fashions change.
We've tried to bring new, fresh elements in, influences from Paris, fashion, trying to get rid of sort of the more heavy, traditional Victorian style.
Wristwatch, yes, new fashion. The wristwatch is meant to be I'm a bit more with the times.
Lots of other people are going into sort of casual suits, softer materials and soft collars. Unfortunately, Mr. Crab is sort of stuck in the Victorian age.
You know, it's like a dream. Everything looks so beautiful. The colours are all jewel-like. So I think in reality, in the times, everybody wore a lot of dark colours, and because they couldn't afford to have light colours that get stained all the time, and so everybody was wearing dark. So it was quite a drab look in London at that time. But the costume designer and the set designer and everybody's just gone for it. Well, this is it's so beautiful. It was made especially for me in my lovely teal colours with the. I've never had anything ever sort of fitted and perfectly made.
Rosalie has been on a romantic trip with Sergei, her husband, and she's come back with kind of Parisian style things going on, and so she's completely embraced it. And so this is a new dress. My first scenes were getting married, so it was kind of authentic. It was really incredible. I tried on all these wedding dresses because in the first episode I get married, and then they actually made a wedding dress for me, so it was completely bespoke and fitted perfectly. So I feel like I've got married in a very extravagant way.
Flying is why Sergei fell in love with Rosalie. He came to me and he said, "Mother, she is an angel." To Sergei and Rosalie.
Zdrowia!
A lot of research has gone into my costumes, to everybody's costume, and particular colours are chosen specifically because she comes from Russia. She also lived in Paris for some time. The detail is very important to me as well, and that helps me as a character.
It's not mine, in case you can't tell, and this is my very beautiful, expensive, lovely wig, which has just been freshly cut. It feels like mine, though.
Basically, the wig, it's human hair. Each hair is knotted into a little cap that's made to individually fit their head, and it matches exactly their own hairline, and then each hair is individually knotted in the right direction that you want it to go.
We finished at 7 yesterday, and there was a sort of a flurry of activity in the makeup trailer, and I was going, well, when do you go home? And they just sort of stay until they're all set. They have to be painstakingly reset every day.
I'm getting it ready, yes, for the next time she wears it, so I'll preset it and then leave it in. It's going to be set on these Carmen rollers and hot sticks to get the period look for that time. And then we'll dress it out. They live over there with the other wigs. Partly set, ready to dress out when she comes in. These are Elsa, our new character. Elsa, she's got various wigs. Every time we see her, she's in a different club look. That's the daughter, the back of Mr. Selfridge's daughter's head. On this particular programme, it's been nice to come in and completely reinvent all the characters because the time has moved on. Change the way the characters look. They didn't really wear makeup before, so we've introduced makeup because that's now come into the marketplace, and it's been nice.
When we sat down this year, as we do every year, and we talk about how we can make the world bigger and better and more exciting for our audience, and this year we very much focused on the CGI.
You know, people always ask me, what's the difference between working over here and working in the States? And I think over here, they somehow magically get it all done for less.
We built the ground floor of Selfridge's exterior, but a company, DNEG, have actually built the rest of the Selfridge's store. You know, so up we go, and the rest of the street, left and right, are Selfridge's. It's really, made the world that much bigger that we couldn't have done with sets.
Though it is fun when we go to Chatham and you're right next to a battleship and a submarine and a rope factory. And when you look at it on screen, suddenly it's Oxford Street. It's incredible.
Looking back on Series 2, we were really excited by some of the possibilities and some of the brilliant things that DNEG achieved on our Chatham sets, particularly because that is very reliant on CGI because it is just one floor.
Just a portion of the front of Selfridges, and then you've got green screens outside. The green screens are very odd because you don't know what's going to be there. They're just green screens. We don't actually film in front of them, but they sort of go into the distance. So I'm always amazed when I actually see it.
Oh, you always feel like you're on the set of something epic when you are, you know, and it can be sometimes, you know, you go like, okay, this is quite bare, but when you see it on the screen, you know, when the effects are in and everything, you go, okay, right.
We've got 2 cameras working today, so we've got the option to get a high shot and a low shot. As you can see, the buildings, we've only got the lower story of the building. The rest is all CGI. That's all recreated in a computer. Some shots are more expensive than others. If we move the camera with some shots, that can cost a fortune. So there's quite a lot of times when we say, let's do this static. Other times when we can afford to do it, we can move the camera.
I'm here to kind of take care of all of the digital and visual effects needs. So what we do is we create the wider world around the set. So as you can see behind me, we've got a massive 50-foot green screen at either end of the set, and we replace that with our digital world, which extends Oxford Street both east and west, and we create digital cars, people, and put them all in and make it look as seamless as possible, so you feel that Selfridges is this massive building on a bustling high street. So yeah, the bulk of our work is back in the office. So really we're here just to make sure everything's filmed correctly so that we can manage to put all of our assets in, but back at the office is where it all really takes place.
So this is a digital scan which we had a machine on set before the filming commenced, which is able to let us make inside the computer an exact representation of what the set was. This is one of the more complex shots of the show because for the first time they wanted to see Oxford Street East. Now, Selfridges Series 2, we only ever looked down the west. However, this series, one of the main briefs we got early on was the idea to open up the world and to have a larger, vaster environment and make that environment more rich. We wanted to give the directors the ability to shoot what they wanted to shoot as much as possible and make it work for them rather than give them boundaries in which they had to stay into. What this is an example of production wanted to widen the Selfridges universe, and this was a great example of one of the most difficult shots we faced, to have a whole CG Oxford Street and a pan from looking down on the floor, look up over London and then onto location, which was meant to be purposed as the top of Selfridges where a wedding was taking place.
Don't put the flowers there, that's where the wedding cake's going to go.
Whole day's taking squandered. And all this is getting in the way of the spring promotion.
The peacocks have arrived.
Peacocks?
What I want to show you is some stuff that we did regarding Paddington Station. The important thing was really that the lighting had to be correct. I mean, Paddington is a big, vast open space. And when I spoke to the director about it, we talked about what sort of atmosphere and ambience was going to be in the station. What I found was, in research, were some fantastic old drawings from Paddington in the 1930s. And this here is the original end window, and it's got all the dimensions and all the technical drawings and everything. This is actually quite different to the end windows that are there today. The design is quite different. So I felt it was important, just for authenticity's sake, to make sure that as many elements, as many ingredients that I found researching were correct. Train stations are very romantic places, so we wanted something that had, light cascading through pockets of light. We couldn't do a big move on the shot, so we had a lock-off camera, and so we positioned it in such a way that we would get the train moving out and all of the action coming towards camera.
We immediately sort of focused on the CGI as being somewhere where we could broaden the show and create much more production value. We've been very ambitious with that in Series 3, and I think it's really paid off. We got to the roof terrace and there's a big tilt up over the whole of London, and when I first saw it, it absolutely blew me away. It's incredible.
They have spent so much time and energy on getting it right on these sets, and yet when you think, well, they probably don't have anything left for the CGI, yet they'll be incredibly adventurous with that because we're creating a lot of different worlds. They're overachieving on every level, and it's really great because we're exposing the roof at Selfridge's, and so we're kind of recreating that. And I think it's going to put the pressure on Selfridge's themselves to open up that roof because they make it look really incredibly beautiful, as it was back in the day.